Hello.
Hey, lady, how are ya?
Good. How's it going?
Good.
Am I lagging?
No?
Okay, good. I've been doing video,
Mm-hmm.
some video. I've been trying.
Good thing I put my makeup on. You look fabulous.
Well, Kelle Sparta, what are you up to?
Oh, what am I not up to?
I know you're
So
just like me.
my, I know, right? My latest thing is that, so I've got two new offerings that are out right now. The spiritual coach certification,
Love that.
and where I'm teaching people how to do teach my Welcome to the Woo program,
hmm
which used to be the Inner Peace program.
Okay.
And I also partnered with them. I do all the back end stuff for them. So I
Okay.
give them all the marketing, do all the things, do all the onboarding, do all the systems, do all the newsletters, do everything, right? So all they have to do is market, sell, and deliver. The other thing I'm doing is the Ascend Elevate program.
Okay.
And I'm doing a once a month program for spiritual entrepreneurs, people who are doing psychic medium reading, energy
Nice.
healing, all of that, teaching, coaching, specifically for those people. And it's once a month we do an event. It may be a day, it may be 5 days, and 3 days. That depends on how much I need to get the topic done. And so I'm doing a year-long program of that. We're 2 months in right now. And so we're going to be rolling out a new one every single month for the next, well, actually 11 months, because I'm using the first one as a trial giveaway for people.
Yeah.
Um, and so that one's $97 a month or $497 for the year,
Wow.
right? Good
Wait,
deal.
but Kelle Sparta? What? That
I
is
needed to help people. I
okay.
needed to do it.
You're
I
like, we're
needed
at desperate times, okay?
I'm just like, I'm so tired of seeing people struggling.
Mm.
And, it's so ridiculously expensive to do anything else. So, yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, I love that. So, I was listening to some of your episodes on Spirit Sherpa, and I was listening to the remote travel or the remote viewing one. I thought that was very interesting. I liked how you guys got into it because, sometimes we think that kind of like when someone does like your Akashic records, you
Mhm.
think it's like they're an Akashic reader, like only they do it. But like we're like tapping into our Akashic all the time.
All the time. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, everything's out there to be had. I mean, nothing is exclusive to one person, or, you can't get it or whatever. There are so many layers to the energetic world
Yeah.
and so many different aspects to it. I just finished recording an episode on ascended masters and master numbers and all that stuff too. There's eh, there are different entities, and there are different energies, and there are different aspects of the astral that you can tap into, and they're infinite, right?
hmm
I don't know if you listened to the episode on what is reality.
No, I didn't get a chance.
So the I'm getting a lot of feedback on that one because
Well, let's
people are
talk about
like,
it.
holy crap, right?
Yeah.
So basically we were talking about the nature of reality and what reality is. And the holy crap thing that they were coming back to me about is that in the episode I actually opted out of reality for a moment.
Whoa.
And I shifted my energy into multidimensional space and out of physical reality. And so while you could still see me, Jewel, my co-host, was saying, you were like
Gone.
not, she said you were vibrating when you made the shift, and then you stopped vibrating when you came back. And it was like, well, that's cool. I haven't gone back and looked at the video, so I don't know. but she was looking at me on video going, oh my God. And I've had other listeners who were like, I could feel you, and then you weren't there, and then you were back. It was so weird.
Where were you going? Were you conscious to it or were you not?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I did it on purpose. Because we're talking about what is the nature of reality, and do you have to be here, and can you opt out? And there are ways that you can use opting out of reality as a way to manifest, because you can opt out, then you can opt into the next reality that actually is on track for what it is that you're choosing, right? So because we have, if you assume that there are never-ending branching infinite realities, and if you follow the Mandela effect, you know that we shift realities pretty regularly around here. Then, does it really matter if you shift back into another one that's just slightly better for what you're looking for, or significantly better for what you're looking for? But it is not a beginner skill. There's a reason I waited 5+ years to talk about it, and it's because it is effectively going across the abyss in the tree of life in Kabbalah, right? So you can either go up the right side or the left side of the tree of life to get to Keter at the top. But if you go across the middle, it's a shortcut, but you go through the abyss. You cease to exist, and then you call yourself back into being. This is why it is not a beginner skill, because you have to really know your energetic vibration and be able to call it back into being when you go into the abyss, right? Because you cease to, that's what I did on the podcast, is I ceased to exist, and then I called myself back into being. Okay. It is not a beginner skill.
Okay, wait a second. But I mean, not a beginner skill, but those of us who have ADHD maybe unconsciously have been doing that for a long time. In fact, I even said to Kensley, was it just yesterday? She got home from school and she's sitting there like, I mean, gone. And I was like, hello, what's wrong? And she goes, I'm spaced out right now. And I was like, oh, okay, well, come back here. I was going to ask you a question.
Yeah. Spaced out and ceasing to exist, two different things. Spaced out is I've left my body a little bit.
Okay.
This is my energy has ceased to exist on this plane.
Okay. Intentionally, when done in a controlled way.
Yeah. So it's a different thing. When you space out, which we've all done, there's a coming up and out of your body, or your brain fuzzes, or there's a whole bunch of different ways that it happens, none of which are the things that I'm talking about.
Okay.
Now. When you're ceasing to exist, when you're shifting into multidimensional space, you're becoming multidimensional and therefore ceasing to exist in the duality of our physical reality, right? Mm-hmm. Then that is an entirely different thing. It's not a head-based thing. It is a energy-based thing.
Well, okay. So I've experienced this with a few of my clients. So specifically, I can remember all of them because it all happened. And actually, you know what? To be honest with you, I think both of them were men. I think it might have happened with a girl too, but it happened with them a few times. And this is how I learned what was going on. I'd be doing Reiki on them or some energy work, and all of a sudden they're not there. Their energy is no longer there. I'm like, where to go? Like, their field of energy is missing. And then towards the end of the session again, and I'm calling them back in, and now they're back. And I always was like, where'd you go? Like, they knew it too. And they usually were going off planet, to be very honest with you, is what they would describe.
That's fascinating. So yeah, I haven't had that experience, so I can't speak to.
But I mean, if someone was doing energy work on you and you were doing that, I mean, would they like notice? Holy shit.
Oh, certainly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, all day long they'd notice. Yeah, there'd be no way not to notice. Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that weird?
Yeah. So, I'm feeling into the off-planet thing. It feels related, but not exactly the same. So it feels like it's almost like a teleporter rather than so it feels like it's so you can shift your energy into another planet to be like specifically someplace else. What I did was to be everywhere else at once and nowhere at the same time. So
oh, geez, what a mind fuck. Okay.
It's slightly the same, but slightly different, right? Yeah.
There's no words for this kind of stuff.
I do my best.
In the English language.
Yeah. So you're in all space at once, and yet you're nowhere in this reality.
Oh, you're in the void and the fullness.
Yeah, sort of. Well, you're insubstantial everywhere.
Yeah.
So, to be in the void and the fullness is to be. And in this
Mm,
case, you're not
you're
being.
not even being okay.
Yeah, you're not being. You're just,
Wow, you really did climb up that tree of life then.
yeah.
Like one with the
You want to know
cosmos.
the really funny thing?
Right.
I've never done it before the podcast. Didn't know how to do it. No one told me how. I just knew I could.
Mm.
I was like, oh, yeah, let me do
Cool.
this right now. Boom, done. Right.
Oh my gosh.
You,
Are you releasing the video?
yeah, the video on YouTube. Yeah.
Okay, because I want to see it. And I'm going
Yeah.
to attach it to this episode too.
Yeah. I had never done it before. And it took me a minute to figure out how to bring myself back too. I was like, wait a minute. Was
What were
that?
you doing over there? What,
No, I literally was like maybe 30 seconds to a minute and
right.
a half.
Time
I
was
mean, it
weird,
wasn't
I bet.
long. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, oddly, I still had a connection to time. I was still talking. So I was still tethered to this space, but my energy, I don't know. I can't, how do I explain that? I was tethered to the space. I could track the passage of time. I could talk. I could, I could identify what needed to be done. I still had thought, right? So it was a bilocation. Okay, so this is the best way to say this, right? So
Okay.
in energy work, we talk about bilocation a lot. And the idea is that you are both doing the thing and watching yourself do the thing, right? And so the part of me that was talking and tracking time and aware of what I was doing was
Yes.
watching me do the thing.
Hmm.
And the doing part of me was insubstantial, spread across time and
Yeah.
space, the whole thing.
I gotcha. It's just like when I'm being the facilitator in a session, I'm really trying to be out of that ego mind and stuff. I'm trying to be in the session and being led, but yet I still do have a concept of time and awareness outside of me as well.
Exactly.
It's a
Same
weird space.
same idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. You learn to dance it pretty
Yes.
efficiently over time. But yeah,
Yeah. It's like
I've been doing this.
multitasking.
Yes, exactly. I've been doing this for 25 years. So at this point, bilocation is second nature. So,
Yeah.
but
But
yeah,
going into that space and being a part of oneness like that, you're vibrating.
evidently.
All right. I can't wait to see the video. This will be great. This is super fun.
That's what Jules said. So I don't know. But yeah,
One
fun.
time when I had on the Her Talks, they at the end of the episode, it actually was pretty amazing, but they led a beautiful like meditation where you went across the world and there was dove and I mean, it was just beautiful. And then they ended with a chant, with their chanting, which calls off to the Ein Sof at the very end at the top of the tree.
Yeah.
And he was trying to bring us, I think, to that place of oneness because it was, as he was describing, it was the connection to above and below and everything
Yeah.
in between.
So I want to be clear, that was not where I was.
Okay.
I was in the void. It was in the nothingness,
In the
right?
nothingness,
The
yeah.
the oneness is at the top. I
Mm-hmm.
was in the space in between, right? And
Wow.
so I have been in the state of oneness, and
Yeah.
that's a blissful, ecstatic state.
Right.
This was not that.
It was not
This,
that.
no, no, it was very different.
So was it a dark place? I mean, did you feel like you could get lost in that space?
Yeah, if I had stayed a lot longer and didn't know how to bring myself back, I could have disintegrated. Yeah.
Well, that's so interesting, Kelly. What about people who have like severe mental illness where maybe they're stuck in that void space?
Well, there's a lot of ways that that can happen. I actually worked with a client years ago when I was still back in Boston, and her son had been in a coma for 4 years. He had gone in when he was 13. He was 17 at the time she contacted me, and he had been hospitalized in a coma for that whole time, and nobody knew why. He just didn't wake up one day. So I went in and talked to his spirit and found that he had been possessed, and that the entity had shoved him out of his body and he couldn't get back in. And so I pulled him back into his body, but it'd been 4 years since he'd been in his body, so he didn't really know how to operate it anymore. And so I reattached him into his body, and I told her, I said, look, it's going to take him 2 or 3 weeks to really sort of have his spirit integrate back into his body because he's been out for so long. I said, but in 2 to 3 weeks, he should wake up. And I think it was just over 2 weeks later, he did. He woke up. Yeah.
It's a miracle.
So, well, I mean, he was potentially a very powerful shaman, and they came and got to him before he could come into his power. And so,
How did he go into the coma on Earth? Like, what happened? Was it like an accident?
No, somebody possessed him.
And he just went into a coma? A healthy,
Well,
like 13-year-old boy?
If you are possessed and shoved out of your body and locked out of your body, you can't get back in. And so there's nothing to run your body. But your silver cord isn't cut. So you're still alive, but if you can't get back in,
Right.
then you're going to be in a coma. That's how that works.
God, Kelly, how is he doing now? Do you know?
I don't know. I don't know. So yeah, it's been years. I have no idea. I also had another experience of shifting my energy. So years ago, I did a retreat, right? We did a 3-day retreat. And a friend of mine was thinking about coming. She's multiple personality. And she was like, I'm a big person. I don't know if you guys can hold me. Okay. And now she and I were on Skype. So I couldn't see myself, right? I could only see her. But the minute she said, I don't think you're big enough to hold me, I went, oh, and I shifted into 18 dimensions at once, right? And I looked at her and I was like, big enough? And her eyes went wide as saucers. And she's sitting there going, oh my God, you are physically glowing. And I'm like, I am. I couldn't see it because I couldn't see myself on Skype, right? Because they didn't have picture in picture back then. And I don't know if they do now. I don't use it anymore. But so she's like, yes, big enough. I trust you can hold me. I'm like, okay. Collapse back down. Yet another thing I did that I didn't know I could do. And, so that was another fun thing.
Kelly, did I ever tell you about how there's been like several experiences I've had over the years podcasting where I saw people's face shift?
That happens a lot.
Does it?
Oh yeah, that's actually, you can teach people how to do that. It's just a matter of staring at someone and letting your eyes soften and then not holding on to their structure, because what you're seeing when you see their face shift is you're seeing past lives. And so the face will shift rather dramatically sometimes.
Yeah, I sat here and drew the lady for the rest of the interview, and thank God I had Mandy then, so she kept going because I was like,
yeah.
And then what I end up discovering is that I started to pay attention. This is kind of what I do is, experience, pay attention, figure it out. But the next 2 times it happened, something happened before I had them. Before the interview.
Oh yeah.
I got super tired. Like I was awake like I am right now, 10 minutes before the interview, could not stay awake so much that I had to set my alarm for 10 minutes both times. Yep. And then after the interview, got my energy back. But something was weird. And both times they changed right in front of me.
Okay. Well, that may have been possession issues.
And they turned into reptilian looking things.
Yeah. You gotta love the aliens. Yeah. Those are
weird. And they didn't stay. They would in and out. And the last 2 times it's happened like 4 or 5 times, but the last 2 people I told.
There's more alien influence happening right now. And I don't know if I mentioned the Arcturan healing thing that happened when I had a student, Kathy and I had a student that we were working with who decided instead of coming to a retreat that we had for the students that we were working with, which she was
Mhm.
supposed to come to, she was like, no, I have to go to this Arcturian healing thing instead. And we were like, look, we honor your choice to not come to the event, but please don't go to that, because we both had really bad like omens about it. We were just like, yeah, it's a bad idea. Don't do it. Right.
Okay.
Of course, she went anyway. And so we, she came back and she had actually had alien implants that ended up in her as a function of the Arcturian healing work. So I don't know if the person running it didn't know, because part of the implants were that they didn't know, right? Or she knew. I don't know. But that was why Kathy and I had such bad experiences, because our student came back going, I'm having these problems. We're like, oh, let me take a look. Took me 3 times to get all of the implants out because they were in multiple dimensions. Yeah.
Wow. So
So
yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I feel like it is weird right now. I don't know if we've shifted realities or something.
something's going on. The last week has been a bear, man. I don't know about you, but everybody I talked to
Okay,
is freaking exhausted for the whole week.
I've been hearing this, but
Yes.
I've had like the best like week of my life.
Wow. Good
I
for you.
know.
What are you doing? Because I need some of that. Everybody else I know is just
I
like
know.
under it. And we're just being rolled
I
around like in a tumbler for rocks or something. I don't know.
a
it's
lot of
been
weird things
everything I
have
could do to
happened.
get through each day this week. Last week I had a great week, but this week has been just a bear. I don't know.
I mean, honestly, it's been really weird.
I'm going to take you up to the level of experience and say nothing is good or bad. It just is. It's the old story, right? From Chinese culture. It's the son is plowing a field with their horse, and the horse goes lame, and the neighbor goes, oh, what terrible luck. And the father says, we'll see. And so the next day, the son is plowing the fields and pulling the yoke himself, and he breaks his leg. And they're like, oh, what terrible luck. And the father says, we'll see. Next day, the army comes through town, is conscripting all able-bodied men, and they don't take the son because his leg is broken. The neighbor goes, oh, what great luck. And the father goes, we'll see. It's just, things aren't good or bad. They just are, right? And you can just be with your experience rather than having to figure out if it's good or bad.
I did a QHHT session with Jennifer Mitchell, and one of the things I discovered in that thing was when I looked down at my feet, I did not have feet.
Well, that's a problem. It's hard for
They,
grounding.
they were webbed, and I had webbed hands.
Oh, so you had feet. They were just webbed. They were webbed. They weren't feet, but they were webbed feet. Yes.
You
That was,
said nothing good and nothing bad. Don't judge me.
I'm not judging. Not at all. The thing you have to understand about judgment is simply resistance.
Well, I
When
was
you
judging
judge,
myself for
yeah,
sure.
when you judge yourself or others, you are engaging in resistance,
Mhm.
because it is a way to avoid looking at your own stuff.
Oh, yeah, I didn't want to. I was like, you got to get me out of here quick. I do
Right.
not want to be in this skin.
Yeah.
It's scaly.
Yeah.
I did not. I was very uncomfortable in that space. And she did, because I almost came out of hypnosis completely at that point.
Wow.
And I was under for a good 2 hours.
Wow. All right then.
And so I
Mm.
don't know. For some reason, I just feel like it's all connected. And I don't, like you
Everything's
were just
connected.
saying, we are multidimensional. So in all of our past lives and all of our, probabilities, we are still them
In our past
now.
lives and our future lives, because we are all in them right now. So we are in the eternal moment of now, and we are all everyone. So we're all having all of these experiences at the
Yes,
same time,
I agree.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's more than the human brain can comprehend.
hmm
And so, one of the things that we talk about is this idea that you need to allow yourself to cultivate an ability to be with what is.
hmm
Because when you can cultivate the ability to be with what is without having to understand it, That's when
Oh.
you start to get more of the secrets of the universe. Because once you start to have to understand it, your brain kicks in and tries to control the flow of information, and it shuts it down to what the brain can process. You have to be willing to let go of the understanding and step into the beingness, right? This
Mhm.
is why I talk to people about, the heart chakra up is the process of stripping away your identity until you become nothing and you become one with everything. And then the heart chakra down is the ability to accept and receive everything without judgment, without having to understand it, but to just be with it until you
Oh.
become everything and you become one with everything, right? And so this is most people go the heart chakra up route, and most Western traditions and even a lot of the Eastern traditions teach that route. But very few traditions actually teach the heart chakra down, and that's where all the shadow work happens. That's where all of the beingness comes into being. And so, it plays into the law of attraction, because we attract what we are being. What you focus on expands. So that's your intention that you put out, but you attract what harmonizes with your beingness. And so when you can shift your energetic beingness, now you have the ability to attract more clearly what it is that you desire, because you can put your energy into vibrational harmony with what you're choosing. That's one of the reasons why they say your income will be the average of the 10 people you spend the most time with, because you're energetically in training with them, and therefore your energy will shift and will bring in or let go of income to make yourself even with the people you spend time with.
Even though you're saying you don't like chase after the understanding,
Yeah,
once you clear and let go, that understanding does come, but it doesn't come from thinking about it and trying to seek it.
correct. Yeah, so okay, so what you're doing in that space is you are just allowing things to be. It's think of it like Kathy uses this analogy all the time. She says that the way she meditates is that because she has an active brain, is that she thinks of herself as sinking down below the surface of a river and watching the river go by, right?
Love that.
And that's kind of the way I'm talking about, right? It's you're in the soup of it, right? You're in the water and you're watching things go by, and you're not attached to them. You're not judging them. You're just going, oh, that's cool. Look at that. That's interesting. Yeah. Okay. Oh, something else. There it goes. And you're just, that's the level of attachment you have to it, is, oh, okay. And it's like that. It works in meditation, but it also works in this process as well, because what you're doing is you're allowing yourself to experience things that you maybe don't have words for, you don't have an experience of, you don't have a concept for. The thing that I find most spiritual practitioners in the beginning of their practice, the thing that I find that they all really get attached to, I have to know it, I have to understand it, I have to,
Mm, yeah.
grok it in fullness, right? I mean,
I've been
like I could get it all. I had one woman who insisted that I could not possibly be talking to my spirit guides if I didn't know their name. And I'm like, lady, I have been talking to these same people for my entire freaking life. I know their energy signature, which is better than their name.
Right. I know
You
the
know,
lady at the grocery store. I don't know her name, but I see her every
right?
day. I
And they're like,
interact
you
with her
can't,
every day.
yeah, they're like, you can't possibly be talking to, and this is what I'm talking about, is this ego stuff that gets in the way,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
That,
for sure. I've been
I was
there.
talking about this with the spirit numbers on my podcast, and about the master numbers and stuff. I'm like, you know what? The numbers don't matter. The
Mm,
numbers are not relevant. I see all these people going, oh, this number means this and that number means that.
yeah.
And da, da, da. I'm like, it doesn't matter. It's just spirit trying to get your attention.
Tension.
Stop. You're missing the point
Mhm.
of the communication. Communication is not the
Yeah.
number. The communication is your guides going, the numbers are the, they are not the freaking message,
Yeah.
right? but that's what happens is that you get when you're in the beginning, you don't know, you're disoriented. Most of us come into this work through trauma.
And it's
And
so
so
surprising too. You're like,
so surprising. Yeah.
right.
And so we're like, oh, I have to understand it. I
Yes.
have to know it. I have to da, 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 da.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not saying don't figure it out, but I will say this. When I first really started to wake up, which was right around when I was 27, 28, um, I started to really wake up at that point, and I started to get information, and I took a moment and I was like, oh, I'm going to go look this up. And I'm like, no, I am not going to go look this up. I am going to allow my intuition to tell me what I
Yeah.
need to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I start to look this up, I am going to micromanage and control freak it
And
into the
take,
ground.
yeah. And
Because
it's
at the
going to end
top
up
of
being
it
someone
is,
else's theories and
yeah.
everything.
Oh my gosh.
I
I
had
was,
to
I was
do that
so like that.
throughout my entire Sophia journey. People
Yeah.
kept saying, "Oh, you got to read this book." And nope, 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 nope. I'm like, because I don't want anyone to influence this experience because
Yes.
I got to see what it is and it's got to be my truth. I don't
Yes.
care how she received it. Like I
Yes.
literally am going through this and it really was a very like inward journey. There was a lot of solitude because I didn't know how to explain it. What I was going through, I didn't know enough to talk about it really, and I didn't want to be influenced.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I looked at. That's exactly why I chose the path that a roommate at the time who was very much a sage. He was Mr. Research everything, know it all sort of thing. And so I would say, I want to do this. And he's like, well, that's appropriate. And I'm like, why? But I'm like, I also want to do that. He's like, oh, I'm like, and I want something else too. He's like, you want this? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what that is, but we'll go out in the woods and we'll figure it out and I'll tell you what I want. And he said, yep, that's what it was. And I'm
Yep.
like, okay. And I'm like, why?
That's beautiful too, because
Yeah.
it's like giving you validation, from
Yeah.
outside, but it's like, oh, well, I mean, if that's what it is, yes, but this is what it is for me. But there
Right.
was a lot of validation, that came that I found was amazing. I'm like, whoa, that's a thing. You're right. Our brain wants to take over and
Mm.
it wants to make sense out of everything and it wants to know more and it wants the proof and all the things. And I really honest to God feel like prior to probably about 2 years, I used to give credit to all the archangels or spirit guides and all that for like seeing the twos. I used to always give the credit away. And now feeling that in my experience that it was my higher self actually that was leading me through at least the last 2 years, I can say for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's usually a combination of the two, regardless. So it's usually your guides and your higher self.
Which is all one
So,
anyways.
which is all one of your, anyways. Yeah. That's all good.
It's such a
So
journey. It's so fun, isn't it?
I know, right? I don't know if I've been on here since I moved to Panama. Have I?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So Panama shut down because of protests. Yeah, like they shut all the major roads down, protest across the roads and not allowing traffic to get through, rocks across all the roads. So we didn't have any gasoline in the entire
What?
region. There was no gasoline to be had. But before that, we bought from one of the bootleggers because there were guys who were driving to Costa Rica, which is like 2.5 hours away, and they would fill up in Costa Rica and then drive it back over here and sell us gas for $10 a
So you
gallon.
bootlegged gas?
Yeah, we bootlegged gas. So it's so funny though because people here, the gringos here, are like all the expats are like there are people who are flipping out and leaving the country because they're like, oh, I've got my go bag packed and blah blah blah. And I'm like, I lived in the US up until last year and I had to leave because I could feel the end of the country coming and I wanted nothing to do with being there when it happened.
You sure
And
did.
I needed to get out of the energy, right? I'm here and the energy they call the energy, so I'm on the side of a mountain, I'm on the side of a volcano, right? And
Whoa.
they actually have a name that they call the energy here, they call it tranquilo because it's so tranquil, right? And my tranquilo has not been disrupted by all of
Right?
this. It's an inconvenience. It's not a problem,
Right.
right? And all these people are going, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, oh, drama, enjoy your drama, because that is drama.
Yeah.
Because I do not feel this country falling apart. This,
Yeah.
I
You're
know what
like,
it feels like. I've been there recently. This ain't it, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
So,
scary. It feels like, almost like, when there's that a table that's got a really wobbly leg.
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
like, if we don't fix it, it might break. I hate to say that I like to just stay in my bubble, in my tranquilo, but this is my health too. If I
Oh,
if I
yeah,
allow myself
absolutely.
to be absorbed with all of the negativity, I let them win and I become a part of the problem.
Correct. Yeah. The best thing that we can do for the country, aside from voting, right, is to opt out of the misery,
Yeah.
because what you focus on expands. And so if you are in the energy of it, especially if you're somebody who's energetically aware and energetically potent, then as you focus on the misery, as you focus on the upset, as you focus on the drama, as you focus
Mhm.
on the actuality of, horrible things happening in the world, it expands. You got
Yeah.
to cut that stuff out, right?
Mm.
You can't.
Lowers your
We can't
vibration.
afford. Yeah, we can't afford to do it. We have to hold the other side of the coin. We have to hold the positivity.
That's
And
part
I
of
was
our
incapable of
purpose.
doing that where I was. I couldn't find my way back to it.
Yeah.
And it's been really interesting because, we were talking that I'd lost 35 pounds since I got here, and that I'm
Yeah.
just generally happier. People are saying I'm aging backwards. It's
I
like,
was gonna say you look really good and you're glowy.
yeah. So that's because I am no longer living in the angst and the upset, and I can,
Yeah.
relax.
You're free.
And
You're like,
yeah, oh my
yeah,
God, totally, totally better. And my body is better, and my acid reflux is gone, and my
that's
whole body is
crazy.
not inflamed all the time. Now, part of that's the food that I'm consuming. I'm eating a lot more vegetables and fruits here, and they're higher quality food because I'm getting it fresher and all the things. But I'm also just happier.
Are you planning on ever doing retreats there?
Oh, I'm absolutely doing retreats here.
That just sounds amazing. Maybe I'll try to come
Yeah, I'd
because I
love to
would
have you
love
come.
to, be with you and be in your energy physically and
Yeah.
see.
Well, and that's really where I'm at my best, right? Is because I can train with people, and you can, you know, it's that whole, you get things through a download sort of thing, right? Your energetic connection raises the person's vibration because it just does, right?
Yeah,
And so, I've been wanting to do a retreat here more for people who are further along in their journey. It's not going to work for the beginners. The beginners are probably
right.
more likely to do well with the Embrace Your Inner Valkyrie one, because that's a focus and then intent, and they don't really have enough knowledge to be able to come to something that's more free form. And I'll have some things set up for that. We'll do probably a spiritual canoe where everybody journeys together and then comes back with a
Wow.
vision and all of
Yeah.
that. And then there'll be cool stuff, right? And I'm probably going to teach some sneaky magic or something. We'll see. But I love
Well,
sneaky.
you know what?
So
A few years ago, when I first had you on, you told me that was going to happen with Reiki, and it sure did.
yep. And that's what I'm saying, is that eventually everything gets constraining. And
Mhm.
so it's better to have something that can be an activation point, or
Yeah.
something that brings people together. And when you put people who are further along in their journey together, they'll activate each other just from
Yes.
conversation.
Oh, I
Just
want that.
right. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. So that's the
Like,
piece that I'm thinking about for this one, is that I really want to do that. Kathy and I will do the other one too, but I want to do the one that's for people who, you get to a certain point where you go to beginner events and you bounce off the ceiling if they're any good, or you're sitting there going, well, I could have taught this and probably taught it better. Or the worst case scenario is that they do something that's energetically unsafe, and now you're jumping in and managing the energy to keep everybody else safe, and you're now no longer a participant, you're now a facilitator who's unpaid.
holding space and pretending,
Right, exactly. I've had that happen so many times
bringing
I
in
can't
your
even.
18 dimensions of Kelly.
Yeah, I'm just like, really? Okay,
Wow.
you
No,
guys just need to
your
place
retreat
unsafe.
is going to
Yeah.
be okay. Everyone go around and share your gifts, and Kelly's going to be like sitting up there about 5 feet high as she and what's your gift? What's your gift next? Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, everybody's stuff. Everybody's learned something different, right? And
Yeah.
I know a lot of
Valuable.
stuff, but there's people out there who know stuff I
Yeah.
don't know, right? That's
Maybe.
just the nature of the beast. So
Hmm.
there's no way everybody can know everything. Anybody can know everything, unless you're immortal. There's no time to
God, you're
learn it
so
all.
right, Kelly. I find that you probably are too. We're always in like in a role, usually teacher student or sometimes even opposite. And very rarely do a bunch of us who are at the same level get together. It sounds like Girl Scouts, Girl Scout, Boy Scouts. Tell everybody where they can find you, Kelly.
My website is kellesparta.com, Kelle. That's
Mhm.
just E. Yeah, Sparta.com. And you can find my podcast at spiritsherpapodcast.com. Sherpa is Sherpa. So, or you can find it at Spirit Sherpa on any podcast player.
Yep, it's a good one.
On the homepage of my website, there is a Boundaries for Empaths download that is free.
It's
If you are an
important.
empath, you need that.
Hmm.
Please, please, please download it because it will change your life. But only if you open it and actually do the exercise.
Hmm.
Okay. I can't tell you how many people are like, oh yeah, I downloaded that. I'm like, did you do it? They're like, no. I'm like, if you don't do the exercise, it won't help you. But if you do, it can change your life. So I
Well, and we
highly
need that
recommend that. Yeah.
right now.
Yeah. I mean, so important right now. Absolutely so important right now. I mean, I can't even tell you how the empaths are really taking it in the chin right now. So it's
Yeah.
not
I
good.
mean, whether you watch it or not, you can feel it.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah.
And it's all around you too, right? So it's
Yeah.
just I know that in Richmond where I was, it was so prevalent in the just in the atmosphere that I was retuning my wards, my protections on my house to try and get the energy out to
Yeah.
not have it like coming through my walls, right? So I think it depends on where you live. If you're more rural, you're probably better off. But in the cities, it can be quite overwhelming.
Well, and this next year is going to be a shit show.
Totally. Come to Panama. We have cookies.
No, I want to go to
We don't
that
have
void
gas,
space
but we
you were
have
talking
cookies.
about. I might be in there until then.
We'll have gas soon. It'll be fine.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
thanks so much for coming back on, and I appreciate you very much. So much
I'd love to
wisdom.
come. I love talking to you. You and I have such a great time every time. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Thanks,
But yeah.
Kelly Sparta. All right.
Mwah.
See you later. Thank
Good to
you.
see you.
I'm driving